Hey everyone, hope you're all kind of fit and well. One of the things I've been interested in doing for quite a while is getting into some interviewing in that, and along your kind of journey and path in life, you generally bump into some pretty interesting people along the way. I've had the fantastic honour and privilege to just finish an interview with a guy called Chris Morgan, who's a really interesting chap with a massive passion in and around the chosen sport that he's just managed to get himself in. So I'd probably recommend sitting back, grab yourself a cup of coffee, a beer, a glass of wine, and sit down and hope everyone enjoys this little interview. Cheers everyone. See ya. So what are we at the moment? It's the 3rd of January 2025, man.
Yeah, I know.
25, crazy shit, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought, eh?
Yeah.
25. You get up to much for Chrissy New Year?
Just went down to a mate's place down in Mandurah for Christmas and had lunch and dinner down there, stayed the night.
Yep.
And then sort of chilled out a bit, Boxing Day, come up home, and then New Year's Eve just spent it here,
Yep.
our place. A few drinks with my partner and watched the 12 o'clock fireworks, as we have a fairly decent view of it from this balcony.
Yeah, that would have been sweet.
Yeah.
Typical. We just started an interview and a plane flies across, eh? It's always got to be like that, eh?
Yeah, the wind must be offshore today, so.
Yeah. Sweet. So for those people that don't know, this is Chris Morgan. We kind of know each other from work and stuff like that. So if we pull the piss out of each other through this, it should be okay, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's the way I roll. You can't think of something to say, just take the piss out of it. No.
Perfect, mate. That's my style. Excellent. Yeah. Cool. Where are you from, man? So I know a little bit about you with work and that, but where are you from originally? Are you WA born and bred, or?
No, so I'm an import. I originally come from Victoria, so I grew up in a place called the Pines and Carrum Downs, which is near Frankston. So basically sort of like suburbs of Frankston. So everyone thinks Frankston's a shithole. Well, the Pines are even worse.
Yeah.
And then, so lived there till I went to school there, lived there till in my early 30s, and then decided to do what my mother never did and travel around Australia, and took off and spent the next few years doing that, and then eventually wound up in WA and worked here for about 18 months on a job, and then packed everything up in the van and took off around Australia again.
Yeah, right. So how many years all up did you do on the road?
So we left at the end of 2008 and come back to WA at the start of 2012. So we were here 2010 and spent 18 months on a job and then did another lap.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You enjoy it?
Travelling around Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was sick.
Yeah.
Like, we had a brand new Land Cruiser Ute and a big 24-foot van, which was our home. Had our whole life in that van and just had the means to be able to not work and just travel.
Yeah. So you and your partner?
Yeah, me and my partner, Ebony.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
Definitely highly recommend it to anyone. Like, I think a lot of people focus on travelling overseas, but I think you need to go around Australia before you get too old.
Yeah. Did you work along the way? I know you said you settled down for 18 months, but did you do any other work?
So when we left from Melbourne, we come across to South Australia, and Eb's dad was in the Barossa then, so we sort of pitch camped there for a little bit. And I didn't want to do any boiler making or welding for 6 months, so we went, and we've always sort of been a little bit passionate with wine and that, so we went and worked for a winery, just picked some grapes and some like lifelong friends that we're still friends with now. And then just had a ball. Like, was just fun, really. And got paid for it.
Yeah, that's pretty wicked. Like, So So you're still into your wine now?
A little bit. Not so much, but yeah, I still like to collect a bit of wine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mainly reds and vintage champagnes and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. All the upper class stuff, eh?
Well, yeah.
You mentioned boiler making, so that was your trade, or?
Yeah, so I started life as a boilermaker. So I started my apprenticeship when
Started life straight out of the womb into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So sort of had a meeting with my mum and all my teachers at school one day, and they sort of said that Chris doesn't really apply himself very well. And I think this was like the first term of year 9 or 10.
You're right.
And yeah, they sort of basically said that, yeah, I wasn't good for the school. So we come out of that, and Mum turned around and said, if you've got 2 weeks holiday now, if you have a job in 2 weeks, you don't have to go back to school. 2 days later, I had a job.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually picked up an apprenticeship.
So I'm from New Zealand, so the years still confuse me. So year 9, did you say, or year 10? To what age is that roughly?
10, 15, 16, somewhere around there. So pretty young.
Yep.
And then, yeah, had an apprenticeship when I was 16 and started to grow up really fast.
Yeah.
Like, you're in amongst tradesmen, men. Back in those days, it was probably still, I won't say brutal, but like
When men were men?
Men were men, and yeah, you got used to being practically joked and,
Yeah.
you know, taken the piss out of, which I was a little bit smarter than the average one, so I probably woke up to that a little bit quicker than some of the other apprentices. And then the best thing about going to second year was you had the first years to pick on. So, yeah, I did that for a little bit in a couple of companies, and then come out of my time. I wasn't really super keen on being a boilermaker. I just sort of didn't like the job and the way you sort of got treated, so I wanted to do more site work, and I went into that, and then eventually went back to night school and did all my welding tickets and become a qualified welder, coded welder.
When you're saying like site work, was that more in WA or was that interstate as well? Or
That was mainly in Victoria at the time.
yeah.
So I went to work for a company called MKM Structural, and they did a little bit of site work, and then eventually worked for a company called Western Port Pipe and Mechanical, and that's when I started to be like a coded welder, and that's all they did was site work and shutdowns and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's when I started cutting my teeth in steel mills and oil and gas and just everything and anything basically that involved pipe work.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So when you came over to WA, then you obviously continued that kind of work.
Yeah. So I from South Australia, the next move was to get a WA address. So I'd worked on some shutdowns and stuff in SA and got some contacts for Kalgoorlie. So come over to Kalgoorlie, which was a bit of an eye-opener.
Why is that?
I was just a lot different to what I'd been used to, as far as I probably went into a little bit with my eyes closed. And
Culturally, or the
not so much culturally, but like money wise and stuff. I was used to a bit more money than what they were offering.
Yeah.
In Kalgoorlie, you work or you drink.
Yeah.
So I wasn't super used to that as well. And I left my partner in South Australia, so that guy said to me, you're on a 3-month trial, and I went back into him after a month and said, I want more money. He said, you're on a trial, and I said, I'll be out of here within 3 months. So I ended up leaving and picked up a job down south at Worsley on their E&G expansion, and then we moved down to there, had come across, and she poured beers in the local pub for a little bit until she'd been there for 6 months as a resident. And then I got her onto that job as a TA, and that started her sort of progression in industry as well.
Yeah.
So
Yep. We're not having much luck with this interview. We had the planes before, and now we've got a guy grinding something across the road, mate. Do we need to go and sort him out, or?
I don't have any control over it, really. I could yell abuse at him off the balcony if you want, but
I think we'll just work with it, eh?
Yeah.
I think we'll be fine.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. So you've ended up in WA at this stage, doing your kind of boilie kind of work, and how was that going when you guys first moved over?
It was good. Like, we didn't know WA when we shifted from Kalgoorlie. We just looked at where the job was, looked at the map, and went, Collie's the closest town to that. So we went and lived in Collie Caravan Park for 18 months. And all of a sudden found out that, like, WA, especially country towns, shops were shut on Sundays. We were on night shift, working a 9-day fortnight. So I had Sunday off, went to go to the shops on Sunday to buy food and stuff for the week, and nothing was open.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that was a little bit of a culture shock coming from, like, Victoria, who back then was, 24 hours trading, was still around then. So
It's amazing, isn't it? Because I mean, I've been here nearly 30 years and moved from New Zealand over to the Gold Coast, and it was great. I did 12 years on the Gold Coast and then moved over to WA, and such an eye-opener coming to WA, isn't it? Like,
yeah, like, I love it here, but there is a reason why they call it wait a while. But yeah, it's cool.
you get used to it after a while. Yeah.
You do get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
It's just that, we're on night shift and stuff, and we ended up travelling down to Bunbury to go and do, like, the week's shopping for the next fortnight and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you get used to it.
You do.
And it's good. Like, it's quirky, but it's cool.
Yeah. So what was the transition from you guys working down there to now being up in Perth like?
So when we went back around Australia, we got to maybe North Queensland or Darwin, and I got a phone call from a mate's a mate to get back to WA. They were testing for welders to go to Barrow.
Oh yeah.
For the Barrow Island project. So we sort of fast-tracked back to WA, and a friend of mine rung us up and said, I guess you'd be sick of living in a caravan by now, and you need to probably look at a house. I found a house down in Dawesville, which was a beautiful home on the beach.
Nice.
Was reasonably expensive, but there was 3 of us, and he said, you want to come and live here? We'll rent it out. And I'm like, yep, cool. So that was our place, and then 2 of us ended up working FIFO, and then eventually all 3 of us ended up working FIFO, so there was no one home most of the time. So we lived there for a little bit.
It's a kind of almost typical WA lifestyle, isn't it?
Yeah. And then once we'd been there for a little while, my mate ended up doing some other stuff, said, I don't want this house anymore. So eventually we brought this place off the plan and moved in 2015.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. There's obviously a few things that have gone on between that time and where we are now that's kind of changed your life a little bit. So what happened there? And
so I've back in probably 2000 and maybe 10, I was just walking around work for a little while, and every now and then I'd trip over, like, just little things, like I'd go to step over a gutter or something, and next minute I'd be on the ground, and didn't really think much about it. I thought I'd just been working too much, or maybe burning the candle at both ends. So I didn't really think about it too much, and then it got quite hard to pick my leg up to put it into my jeans in the morning to get dressed and stuff like that. So eventually went to a doctor, and they sort of said to me I might have had something wrong with my back, and unless I wanted major back surgery, to just keep on doing my thing. And the doctor said I could send you for some scans if you wanted, but if you're not going to go through with surgery, there's probably no point. So I just went back to work and kept flogging myself. And then 2016, I come home with a double hernia, and then met a GP that actually looked at me and looked at my gait and said, I don't know what's wrong with you, but there's definitely something up, but we'll find out. So while I had the hernia repair, that gave me time that I was not working, like I was off work, and I got sent on a bit of a journey through the medical profession, seeing different specialists and stuff like that. Went to see a sports medicine guy that does a bit of work with the West Coast Eagles and stuff, and several x-rays and stuff like that. He turned around and said, there's nothing wrong with you skeletally. I might send you, has anyone ever sent you for an MRI? And I'm like, never had one. So I got sent for my MRI, come back to see him, and he goes, you need to go and see a neurologist. And I went, shit, that sort of sounds a bit serious. So went to see a neurologist, more MRIs and stuff later, and this neurologist goes, what do you know about MS? And I've gone, I did the readathon once when I was a kid, and that's about it. And he said, well, that's what you've got. So I now knew what was up with me.
So that kind of first time, not the first time you tripped, because you've probably done that a few times, but that first time that happened and you said your leg was getting heavy, to the time that you're now saying you got a diagnosis, how long are we talking about? We're talking about years.
Yeah. So that would have probably been a good 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So from when I first actually went, hey, there's something up. And then also too, like I thought it might have been cancer or something. So I was like not super keen to find out. And then eventually it just got to the point where I was like, there's something definitely going wrong here. Like I need to look into this more. So, yeah.
Yeah, right. So that's, so you've got that diagnosis. So what, because there's different levels of MS. So what were you at that stage, like different categories, yeah?
So different categories is probably the wrong way to describe it. There's probably different levels of the progression of the disease. And there's also different aggressiveness or aggressive nature. And obviously the sooner you're on treatment, the better the outcome is. So at that stage, I could still walk unaided. I probably had a different sort of gait to regular people, but I was still mobile, everything like that. Couldn't run, so that was probably the first bit of disability starting to.
So you had to give away all your criminal type stuff because you couldn't get away from the cops. And
well, I had to learn to fight because I couldn't run. And yeah, had to. There was no running away from robberies or anything like that.
Yeah.
But no, so, and that was the first thing I noticed was when we're away on site, obviously you have a small amount of spare time. So one of the things we used to do was play like indoor cricket. And yeah, as a batter, I was struggling or had this weird sort of hitched hip run down the pitch, and that was sort of the start of me going, there's something not right here. So yeah.
So in the early stages, were there medication involved or?
No, so up until I was diagnosed, once I was diagnosed, straight away I was told to go and see another neurologist because the neuro that diagnosed me, MS used to be his thing, and then he went into things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So then I got moved over to one of his colleagues, and she basically straight away put me on to a disease-modifying therapy, which is like an old chemo drug, and that was the start. So basically, as soon as I was diagnosed, as soon as possible, got put on to treatment.
Yeah, right.
And that consists of a monthly infusion for about 2 hours. I'd go into an IV suite at St John of God, and have the nurses fuss over me, and go and get my treatment.
So is this when you're still working at Barrow? So
Yes. So the day I was supposed to go and see that neuro was the day I got the medical clearance to go back to work.
Yeah.
So I had to cancel that appointment. I went back to work. It was the end of the job, so layoffs had already been happening while I was away. And I basically turned around and told my superintendent what the deal was and said, I think I need to be back at home. So they sort of did the righty by me. I got made redundant in the 2 weeks that I was up there. So then I come back home, went to see the neuro, got put onto treatment, and then, started life as a person that was with MS.
Yeah, right. So how does it change your life? Like, I know there's mobility issues and stuff like that, and we'll get to maybe some of your career changes that you've made. But like, how else does it look for you? Like during the day, what's happened with your relationships? Like you mentioned sports, so I presume your sports career's kind of gone now. And
Well, yes and no. So MS changes a lot of stuff and it changes your life. And there was a period of time where I sat here and went, holy shit. There was probably a time where I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like losing my career. So as far as being a welder, it was the only thing I'd ever known how to really do. I was known as Chris the welder. And with men or guys, your career is often like something that's associated with your personality. So that's a big part. I probably sat on this balcony and looked over the edge and maybe even contemplated like bailing off, and then worked out that the balcony wasn't actually high enough and I'd probably end up more fucked up than what I was and more of a burden on people. So like I had all those thoughts, and then as I do, like found ways, and it wasn't always the easy road, and my partner was probably a big part of that. She was still working FIFO, and she turned around to me and said, your job now is to get yourself like the best version of you, and then we'll look at career change or what you're going to do professionally after you go to physio and try and stabilise the disease as much as we possibly could. So it was vastly different. Like basically, I went to try and start welding again, but like I couldn't handle the positions that you needed to be in. I all of a sudden, and I noticed this probably in the last 2 years that I was up on Barrow, I was like, is the summer hotter because I'm feeling it more? So I started to get heat intolerance. So your body with MS, there's many, many different symptoms, and it's a very individual disease because we're all sort of different. So I started to become heat intolerant both for hot and cold. So your body doesn't have the ability to regulate its temperature as well. So 1 minute you'll be like fine, next minute you'll be boiling hot and sweating and maybe spazzing in. Or the other side of it is you'll go from being fine to freezing cold and shivering uncontrollably. So you don't get that warning like a normal person would. Mobility issues, and then, I've never really been a massive academic. So that then set up challenges to transition careers. I didn't really know about transferable skills and stuff like this. I did my C-SWIP inspector to become a welding inspector, but then that also meant that I needed to be out on site and stuff like that, which had other issues. I failed that course by 2%, and of course that was right when I was diagnosed as well, so I never went back to finish it because I sort of probably wasn't in the right headspace. And then eventually it sort of was suggested quite a few times to me, why didn't I go into training? And I sort of wasn't too sure how to do that. And then COVID hit. So I got paid out my disability insurance off my super, and that sort of gave us a buffer to basically not have to go out into the community while COVID was being suppressed. That was a big scary moment for us, and my missus would go and do the shopping. I wasn't allowed to get out of the car, so all that sort of stuff. And then as COVID was getting more and more, people were crying out for workers and stuff like this. So I went to my partner, there's got to be something that I could do. And then just to get back into the workforce, I went to Grays and just basically booked in their cars for their auction. I've always had passion for anything with a motor in it. So I knew cars basically. Did that for a little while, and then a friend of mine who works for ERGT rang me up and said, have you ever thought about being a trainer? And these people would like you to come down and talk to you. So I went in, spoke to the old HSE guy, I can't remember his name now, and basically then went and done a shadow day, spoke to a couple of the managers and stuff, and the HSE guy was basically just having a look at me to see how I got around and stuff like that. And then, yeah, they offered me a job after a little while.
So for those people that don't know, ERGT is quite a large training company that work with offshore and maritime and oil and gas and mining kind of companies and that, and they do a lot of rescue training and working at heights and confined space work, and what else they do, the Hewitt module kind of stuff, all sorts of kind of bits and pieces.
I sort of say that they're the biggest safety training organisation in Australia. And they deal with mining, oil and gas, offshore, onshore, and then maritime and stuff as well.
So prior to having that interview, had you done any training before?
I'd been leading hand and stuff like that, so sort of, but nothing like in that sort of setting.
So that's more like you'd be looking after people at work, maybe teaching them a few things. Informally or informally.
So sort of always been a little bit of like that leader sort of type of person, or if no one else was steering the ship, I'd sort of end up doing it maybe. So had dabbled in it, but not anything real major.
And how did those first couple of meetings go with ERGT? It's a big step for you and probably a big step for them as well.
Yeah, well, I think they told me that, they had someone that had PTSD on the books and stuff like this, but never anyone probably like me. The meetings went good. I was keen and happy to sort of see another career path in front of me, and have a job that had some meaning behind it, as like anyone can book cars in. And to sort of make a bit of difference, like I'd worked in construction and maintenance and stuff for a long time. I'd had a few incidents myself, and I'd been privy to seeing a few people get hurt and stuff like that. So safety at work is always something that's been not enough, like, it's always something that's in the back of your head. Like, everyone deserves to come home from work with all their fingers and toes and eyeballs. It was something that I looked forward to and was excited to get into that.
So ERGT's got a lot of different departments and things like that there, and there's lots of practical elements in their style of training and that. So how did that all evolve in, the department that you've ended up in? And
all right, so I work in a department called Safety Skills. So we generally do anything from permit to work to confined space rescue. I have so when I first started working for ERGT, I walked unassisted, and then probably within the first 6 months, I decided to start walking around for stick. So I do have some physical limitations on some of the courses that I train. We do a course that has BA in it, which is the breathing apparatus. And you wear a cylinder on your back, and if you put a cylinder on my back, I would probably fall over backwards. So I do a lot of modification of what we do at work to suit my own needs. Recently, workers turned around and said, we're going to make things a lot easier for you. So maybe a bit more classroom-based stuff, maybe more IMT or incident management training. So in a simulated environment where I don't do a lot of talking and I don't do a lot of physical activity, but then also too, like still being able to do some of the courses that we do, like working at heights and stuff like that. But just, if I don't need to walk upstairs, I don't walk upstairs, and, modify things to suit me that way.
I've been training for a long time now, and ERGT is a pretty big place. It's got a huge hallway. The footprint of the business is quite large, and I go home from work quite a lot, absolutely exhausted physically and mentally, because training does take it out of you. How do you go with all that? Like, you're up and down that hallway zooming around with your stick. I see you moving all the time.
So some days are better than others. Some days I'm knackered, like MS affects your sleep, so I mightn't always have a good night's sleep. So then that puts you in deficit for the next day. Some days physically I'm good. Some days I'm not so good. I do a lot of strength training and gym work. So I'm in the gym usually at least 4 times a week, and maybe even do a circuit class as well. So 5 days a week I'm doing some form of like intense physical activity. So then I might have a hangover from that the next day where I might be stiff and sore. Generally, most days are good. Some days I walk out of there absolutely knackered. But I'm not one to ask for things to be made easier or anything like that. I tend to just push through and push myself like hard. Mentally, yeah, some days you come home, you're mentally drained. But my version of training is I'm just one of the boys. I don't see myself as any superior from anyone that I train. I just try to be at the same level as the people that are in the room. Most of the time I've got a lot of people that come through the place. I've worked in their environment. I know what they go through on a daily basis. I know the pressures. I know the complications that sort of lifestyle can have. So they probably see that, and I have a good rapport with 95% of people that I train straight away as soon as I have a bit of a joke, and yeah, they see where I'm coming from.
And your peers, I'm presuming, is the same thing. You're always pretty jovial at work and like a bit of a laugh and goof off a bit. So yeah, how do you go with your peers? Or how do they handle you, I should say?
Yeah, because unless you sort of probably know me, you don't know what I'm like. I'm very direct. There's no grey area whatsoever with me. It's very black and white. I probably say stuff that some people wouldn't say, as far as like generally take the piss out of you, and like it's always in a joking manner, but I can be quite maybe confronting sometimes with some of the stuff I might say. It's never meant to hurt anyone. It's always meant to have a laugh.
Is that your personality? Have you always been like that? Has the MS adjusted that a little bit, do you think? Or?
I think I've always been like that to a certain degree, but also too, when you have a disease that possibly will shorten your life, you find out you don't have time to fuck around with shit anymore.
Yep.
Like, so this is who I am. This is the way I am. If you don't like it, well, maybe you should go and talk to someone else.
Yeah.
But I'm genuine. I'm a very genuine person. If you're a friend of mine, I will give you my shirt off my back. I'd always be there for you. So I have a harsh exterior, but if you're someone that knows me and you're inside that, well, you know what I'm all about.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, everything's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned the gym stuff before and the fitness stuff, which sounds like it's quite important for your condition. I'm presuming to stay fit and healthy and that. So what does that kind of look like? You said you do up to 4 classes a week, like
Yes.
one-on-one stuff. I presume you're not going to a CrossFit or something like that.
No, I don't do CrossFit. I have a very specific sort of regimen that I do, which consists of 2 days a week I go to a physio. So I go and see Steve at Star Physio and have done since 2017. And he works out all my gym programs and that. So we specialise in strength training. So basically Steve racks my weights and just keeps an eye on me. So do some big compounding movements. So generally deadlifts, hip thrust, leg press on a leg machine, bench press, back extensions, calf raises, and the sole focus of that is to keep the muscle that I have got and build on that, but then also to hopefully force some of the other muscles to activate, and then the ones that don't or are not as strong, try and build the muscle groups up around them to compensate in a way. Then 2 days a week I do my own stuff in my own gym. So I go to Aura 24/7 gym here in Belmont, where I do like bent over rows, upright rows, shoulder press, maybe some lat pull downs and stuff like that. And then I used to go to MSWA once a week of a night and do like a circuit class there, which focused on a bit of like functional work, balance, and a little bit of strength stuff.
Because that's what I was going to ask. Do you do any kind of balance kind of work or the strength work? Is the concept of that is obviously to keep your muscles strong and your balance in is okay.
Yeah.
Is that the idea? So,
yeah. So sort of the strength training helps that a little bit, but then also too, I still have a focus on that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because with MS, I have the motto that if you don't use it, you lose it. So we try to have a wholehearted approach to that sort of stuff.
Yep. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard you speak a couple of times at work and stuff like that. So the main concept with the MS is that the signals aren't going through to the muscle fibers correctly, or?
Yeah, so what MS is it's a autoimmune disease that basically your immune system attacks your central nervous system, so your brain and spinal cord. And it has, if you think of your nervous system as an electrical cord, so the inside wires are the inside of the nerve, and then the outside plastic casing is your myelin sheath, which surrounds your nervous or your nerve system. The immune system comes in. One side's not too bad, but when both your T and B cells come in, they can eat away at that protective myelin sheath and eventually possibly even sever the nerve altogether. So once that protective coating's gone, then the nerve signal can go haywire. So you get interrupted signal or something that's not quite correct. And then also too, MS has an effect on the way your neurons fire. So to look at someone with MS, a lot of us look like we're in slow motion, and that's just the slowness in the neurons firing and the signals travelling to where they need to go.
The strength work that you're doing is keeping the muscles fit and healthy to the best that they can. What about like medication? That you've been on different medication?
Yeah. So I first started on I take a medication that keeps my MS at bay. So that stops either both sides or one side of my immune system going through the blood-brain barrier and into the central nervous system. So that started with a monthly infusion on a drug called Tysabri, which is a very good drug, but it blocks out both sides of your immune system, and you have to have a blood test once every 6 months to make sure you don't have this other disease, which can set up a brain infection, and once you have that, you're basically dead. And then I went on to another drug because I had a little bit of progression called Ocrevus, which only takes out one side of your immune system. So all of a sudden that disease that affects your brain called PML is taken out of the equation. So outcomes a lot better. And that was once every 6 months. So then I was in front. There was less hospital time, but the infusion was 8 hours. So you're in hospital, nurses fussing over you for 8 hours, fairly chunked out of your life every 6 months, to then, because of COVID, they started developing these drugs in a home environment. So now I'm on that same drug, Ocrevus, but it's a monthly infusion. I inject myself at home. It's like an EpiPen. So just in one of the
self-injecting kind of EpiPen design.
Yeah. So that's the way it's controlled now. Every other form of medication I try to be on as least as possible. So I'm on a little bit of muscle relaxants, and that helps with the tone and spasticity. And then I'm on a large dose of vitamin D 3 times a week, because when you have MS, your vitamin D levels are virtually non-existent.
Yeah, right.
So you have to build them up. It's like a precursor to MS. And then it's just other little bits and pieces.
So I know earlier in the year, or last year, we're talking about you had a bit of a, I don't know how to explain it, maybe a hiccup or a wobble with your medication. You had some facial problems and some stuff like that. So is that through the medication or through just?
So what that is so you have MS, and then your MS will cause complications. So I have a lesion in my brain. So under an MRI, my brain looks a bit like a Swiss cheese because it has all these little plaques or lesions in there. And I have one right near the root of the trigeminal nerve, which is the sensory nerve in your face, and there's 3 branches of that, one down here, one up the top part, and then one up around sort of your eye and forehead. And because of that lesion near the root of that nerve, it sets up wrong sensory signals. So I have incorrect pain signals through there. So I have intense facial nerve pain, which is quite debilitating sometimes. So there's various different ways to control that with medication, and most of them are anticonvulsing drugs that help or control epilepsy, so real hardcore stuff. The downside to that is they make my MS symptoms 100-fold worse, so I don't like being on those drugs. But sometimes I have to be. I've had a couple of procedures done where they basically put a needle in my face and lesion the nerve. So you can't do anything for the brain, but we can treat the problem downstream, so to speak. So I've had that done a few times, various levels of success. Hopefully we're on to something now where I might have a little bit of tiny pain, which is maybe more of an annoyance, rather than that big extreme pain where 24 hours a day you've just got mad pain. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm off work. So yeah, hopefully we've got a little bit of control of that.
You mentioned earlier on about your balcony. How's your mental health going now? Because it sounds like there's some ups and downs and challenges with the MS and that. So how are you going with all of that now?
So yeah, there's always challenges, but even normal life has its challenges. Mental health is good, and I keep that in check with my life. Basically, I early days went to my GP and I said I'm having trouble getting up out of bed. Like a couple of days, I would just stay in bed all day, sleep and stuff like that. And he's gone, look, that's not a problem if it's a day or two. If it starts getting beyond that, then that's an issue. So I'm very mindful of that. That doesn't happen that often, actually probably at all now. I sort of search for whatever's might be impacting that or making that sort of scenario happen, and then I try to change it. So I'm not on any meds for mental health or depression as such. There are, with MS, it can affect that side of your brain as well. And there are quite a few people that are on antidepressants and stuff because of MS impacts that area. I have a very different approach, and I'm not saying to people this is how you could control it, but I have one thing in my life that's a massive motivator for me and really keeps me focused, and that's my drag racing. It's something that I look forward to. I spend a lot of hours in the gym for it, and that's sort of, I always look for the positive and just try to keep myself happy. When I was younger, and probably one of the reasons why I transitioned from being a boilie to being a welder, was maybe I had a little bit of undiagnosed depression back in them days. And being young's quite tough. A lot of the time you want to be further in life than what you can either financially or professionally do. So I look back on those times quite a lot of how I felt mentally and stuff like that, and just do the polar opposite to it, basically.
It's interesting, isn't it, with that mental health? And like you said, it's not anything to do with MS. Everyone struggles at different times and that. I made a joke before about the old days, when men were men and, we ripped the shit out of each other and tortured each other and stuff like that at work. And you look back at it at fond times, but the reality is some of that stuff is just brutal as well, isn't it? It doesn't help us. Like you said, we're young men, we're trying to strive and find our way in the world and career, and you do get knocked around a bit, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And that can have a massive effect on someone. Admittedly, it sort of didn't to me in that way. I was probably deflected a lot of it. But yeah, I can see how it mightn't be the best thing for some people to have to go through. It's one of the things that I say so I do a course where I deal with a lot of people that's new to industry at work, and there is a section a little bit on mental health with that, but we often look at mental health and the issues that we go through in life as being like very individual, whereas if we focused on things like everyone goes through the same stuff, so everyone has to grieve for a person that has passed away. Everyone goes through financial difficulties. Everyone has relationship breakups and all this sort of stuff. So why don't we talk about it more? Like, we all go through it. So instead of like worrying about what's affecting you personally, maybe bounce some of the stuff off people around you. It's sort of how I roll with it.
No, look, I 100% agree. The older that I've got in my life, it's something that I look at now and exactly the same thing. Everyone goes through it, through their life, and if you say you don't, I think you're a liar.
Yes.
Everyone has different levels of it.
Yes.
At different times, and 100% agree that we need to be talking about it more. And
yeah, and it is more open now, whereas when we were young, you know, men were men didn't cry, men didn't talk about their feelings, you know, men didn't show their feelings. But yeah, now it's, for a good thing, it's a lot different. So.
Yeah. The MS, you do not quite a bit of work, but you do some work with MS, don't you? Like as the association itself. And
yeah, so I do a little bit of stuff for MSWA. This year I was part of their mega home lottery draw, so I got to announce that someone had won a $1.6 million apartment, which was really cool because we often look at MS as what it takes away from your life, but to actually be able to give something huge back to someone was a massive buzz for me. And hopefully I can do some more stuff that'll lead into a bit more stuff, but I've had, you know, articles written up on me that they put into their magazine and stuff like that. So
that's fantastic. With that, some of the stuff with MS, what's to go with the suit, mate?
the suit.
The Batman suit.
My super suit. So yeah, I'm becoming a comic book hero. I'll have some superpowers soon. So what the suit is, it's a Exo Pulse Molly suit. It's brought out in Australia now by Otto Book. And basically it's a suit that's like wearing compression clothing. And so it fits quite tight. You can't hide anything in it. And it has all these electro stimulus all over your body. You program the suit to activate's the wrong word, but act on different muscles or target different muscles or areas of your body. And basically it sends electrical impulses all over your body and takes all your tone and spasticity symptoms away. So after 10 minutes, so I've done a 1 hour clinical trial, and as soon as they put it on, I was like, I can feel this. So it just feels like you're in the rain and you can feel all the raindrops dropping on you. So it's not invasive. It feels quite soothing. And then after 10 minutes, they said, do you want to get up and do some walking? And basically I started to walk without my stick. I was landing heel first because I have foot droop, which your dorsiflex, I struggle to pull it up when you walk, so I land toe first a lot of the time, which is the reason why I have some trips and spills quite a lot. But this thing is a game changer. It's like I had a brand new body. After an hour of wearing it, I come back home without the suit on and walk from where my car is up to the apartment without a stick, nothing. The rest of the day I walked around my apartment not needing anything to steady myself with. When my partner got home, she goes, oh my God, I can't believe how tall you're standing. My posture was back to like a normal person or a regular person. And the roll-on effects, I got about probably close to maybe 10 days afterwards. And then everything went slowly back to the way it is.
So what's the concept of the suit? Is it something that if you wear more, those symptoms will hopefully last longer? The positive symptoms or the...
Yeah, so the more times I wear the suit, the more prolonged symptom relief I'll have. And basically the better I'll become. So I need to go, and we'll do it early this year, I need to go and do some walking rehab and gait retraining because I've walked like this for so long I've forgotten how to walk normally.
Right, yeah.
So I'll have to go and get retrained how to walk. And the suit then takes away, because my muscles are now not like really tense. It just means that I move more like a regular person without MS. So
Where's the connection from Chris and the suit? How did this even come about? How did you get chosen? Like, who do you know? Hey?
so I'm very fortunate to have a girl that works for MSWA and another organisation called Job Active. So she's sort of a little bit in both. So Job Active is a government, a federally funded scheme, I suppose you call it. MSWA is private. So I first got involved with Emily, one of the physios or one of the exercise physiologists that I used to see, put my name forward with her. So she come down to ERGT, had a look at what we do there, and look at what I did, and got me some ice vests to help me cool over summer, and I can also use them for my racing as well. And then, I don't know, she must have thought I was all right as far as I was an interesting sort of person. And I don't know, she just helped me. So we did a couple other little bits and pieces, and she was interested in getting me to walk better and not have as many falls, which is something I probably keep close to my chest, because I think every time you tell people, especially in the medical profession, that you've had falls and stuff, they want to do stuff to make you not fall, or, you know, take all the fun away. Not that falling's fun, but, you know, make you get into a wheelchair or gopher or something like that. So Emily suggested that we go down that road of a gopher or something, and I said that's not happening. So then we looked at different walking aids, and I said I want to look as normal as possible. So then she suggested we go and have a look at this thing called a molly suit. So
is it new, the Moldy suit, is it new, or is it new to WA, or has it been out for a while? Do you know?
So there's two people that have been given, well, not given, but have been, given a molly suit through the NDIS plan in WA. Hopefully I'll be the third. I'm not, everyone in the last little bit's been asking me about this. I actually don't know. I know it's a German company that owns the technology. I'm not sure how long it's been out for. I think it is a reasonably new thing, maybe 5 years maximum. It also helps with MMD, cerebral palsy, and any sort of other disease where you have that tone and spasticity symptoms. So I don't know a lot about the background of it. Maybe I should do a bit of research, but I'm not really fussed. I just know that it works and I want one.
Yeah.
So
with the I want one, so what's the long-term goal? Is it something you can purchase yourself and put it on and wear it here, or what? How does?
So when I get one, so our next step, so Friday before Christmas, all the findings and report from that 1 hour trial, and the orthotist, so you go to a place where they make orthotics and stuff like this, and they were the one that did the trial. He said I tested in the upper end of people that they've tested for the suit, so I was a definite good candidate. So now we've applied for funding through the NDIS to get my own suit for a home trial of 8 weeks, where I'll have one, wear it for an hour a day, take it off, go and do my stuff, and then same deal at the end of that 8-week block. We submit all the reports and hopefully get funding for one. They're around about $15,000. I got told they were 60, and whoever told me that gave me the wrong information. So 15 grand's not such a bad sort of financial outlay for the benefits that it gives me.
I saw you at work the day after you had the suit on, and you were just kind of buzzing with kind of energy and stuff like that. So can you kind of explain to everyone? You kind of explain what it's doing to you, but how does it make you feel? Like, what's the benefit to you? Like you said, you're a different person almost, just with the energy levels and.
Yeah, so it's like I got a new body that didn't have MS, and and then after like the effects of it was wearing off, then I realised as well like the debt that had to be paid as far as physically, and how much effort I put into just functioning daily. Like I said, often people with MS use like 3 times the amount of energy as a person that doesn't, just to function, and that's like true. So the days after wearing the suit, posture was different, so therefore I didn't use as much energy to function, so my energy levels were huge. Just moving around was so much easier. Like, it is a game changer. It will change my life, and yeah, that's hugely positive for everything. Just everything become easier. It's like you've been dragging that 100-kilo weight around behind you day in, day out, and then all of a sudden someone just cut the rope and you were free again. So
Fantastic.
everything is different.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost like going back to not having MS. It's not a cure. It's like a interim fix, but the quality of life is so much different.
Yep. That's probably a good segue that you got a big smile on your face from that, and we can get into probably what we're actually here for, and that's to talk about motorbikes.
Yes.
Yes, you mentioned a moment ago something about racing. What's to go, Chris? What do you mean racing?
So I race a drag bike in mod bike, which is probably an entry level for drag racing.
So hang on, let's just go back. What you used to race when you were healthier, or you're racing now?
No, I race now.
You're racing now. So you got MS and you're racing a fucking drag bike.
Yeah.
Like you do, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So the way that all come about was, so I used to ride motorbikes on the road, and I've only ever ridden Ducati, so I started with the best. I had a couple of really nice Pengalis, which is like a sports bike that Ducati make, and I dropped them at a set of traffic lights. Probably I couldn't get my right leg down, which is the one that's more affected by the MS, quick enough off the foot peg. Laid it down, which was quite embarrassing because you had to get someone else to give me a hand to pick the bike up, and quite costly as well because Ducatis are expensive. So after doing that twice, I come to the decision that it was getting too hard for me to ride on the road, and to be honest, it's probably not the best thing for me to be doing as far as traffic and everything like that as well, but it just got physically too difficult. So I have a great mate called Pato, who owns Wayne Patterson Motorcycles, or Bunbury Ducati, and his son was at that time like their lead mechanic, and I said to him, we'll trade this bike in, and they go, what do you want to do now? And I've gone, let's build a drag bike and go racing. Pato races as well. He races Turbo Ducati in comp bike, and he also got me involved in racing. As far as when I was newly diagnosed, I sort of lost a lot of things, and he told me to come down to the races, and I was his tow rider. So that got me into the sport, and then I was like, hey, this is way cool, I want to do this myself. So that journey started. They had a demo bike which is XDiavel, which is what my bike is now based on. So I brought that base bike, and then Ducati released a concept bike called the Drag X-Star in 2016, and my bike is basically a working copy of that bike. So we had that and turned it into a working reality, and they sort of went, oh, you can go down to a whoop ass on a Wednesday night and do that, which is basically off-street drag racing. And I said I wanted to do more than that. I wanted to race in the state competition and eventually nationally. So now that's what we do, and it's awesome.
So just going back a bit to the bike. So is the bike originally a road bike that you've turned into a drag bike, or do you buy it as a drag bike?
I know. So it's a road bike that we've purposely built to go racing. It's a full-time race bike. It never gets ridden on the road. And then also it's had a couple of different like reinventions, I suppose you speak, as we've changed the bike, and then also too we've changed it performance as well. So the bike is 100% specifically set up for me to ride it. So I blew the gearbox after a season or two because I can't feel the bottom of my foot on the left-hand side. So I would change gears and not always positively shift. So that damaged the gearbox. So now we run, basically I ride an auto bike. So I have a shifter module on it with an air shifter, and then that works off RPM. So I program into that what RPM I want the bike to change at, and then the air shifter does all that for me, which is also more consistent. Foot pegs are lower in a position where it's comfortable for me and easy for me to get my feet up on. My right foot I still pick up and physically put on there. And yeah, the bike's just basically set up for me.
How did that industry take it when you rocked up going, I want to buy a drag bike and race do a quarter mile, I presume they are, and and I've got MS. How did they take it in WA and Australia?
So I race off a super street license, so there's no medicals or anything like that, and that was one of the things that I was a little bit concerned about, was how they see me. But there's people that race that have all kinds of bits and pieces that maybe not quite right with them. There's one guy that races a car over here that he's had a stroke or something, so not as good mobility in one of his arms. So as I sort of started racing more, and then people found out what the go was with me, it's just been accepted. And now I'm at a point where if I want to step up into faster categories, I have no hesitation of going, doing the medical and stuff like that. And then our governing body will just work out how to manage it. As far as I know how to ride a bike, but sometimes it might take me a little bit longer to get used to it. Like when we do a major change on the bike, it might take me a couple of meetings till I become fully comfortable on the bike again. Obviously, I've dropped the bike on the start line and stuff like that before because I couldn't get my foot down quick enough or something like that. So there's little bits and pieces in there that, just have to be managed the best we can. One of the funniest stories I've got with racing is we'd done a major change, massive change. Foot pegs were different, everything like this. The bike was now louder because it had straight through exhaust on it, so sounded different, felt different, everything like that. The first meeting we went out to for that, we got through eliminations. I wasn't running, real fast or anything like that. And first round of eliminations lined up, and I've taken off and I've stalled it as I've taken off, and the guy next in the other lane's red lit. and I've dropped the bike just across the start line. So I'd done enough to accept the green light, but I actually never completed the lap. But I won that race. So we pushed the bike back. Well, a mate of mine pushes the bike back to the pits, and I've gone, I suppose we just pack up and go home. And he goes, you won the race. Like, I wouldn't be packing up and going home. So I went, all right, fuck it, like, let's go. And I actually ended up getting through and finished second in that meeting, or runner-up in that meeting. So just shows you never should quit.
No.
But also too, like, how many people have actually like not come off, but like laid their bike over on the start line, still
won the race. That's fantastic. Yeah. So you don't just race here. You actually are racing interstate and all sorts of stuff, aren't you? You're doing a bit of travelling and racing when you can.
Yes. So we race in the national competition as well. So NDRC and ANDRA national competition. So we go all over Australia, mainly to the Bend in South Australia, just because it's convenient, I suppose. And it's a beautiful track. The air's really nice there. It's the new place to go quick in Australia. So
it's a nice track. It's a straight road though, isn't it? It's not like
but
explain to me that's a better track.
So it's smooth. It's an all concrete track.
Yep.
It's a brand new facility, and the air is mint. Like, as far as altitude and density, and it's just everything's right to make power.
Right.
Yeah. So WA, or our track here in the Motorplex, used to be the place to go fast. And now this place is better for it performance-wise.
Yep.
WA is always my home track, and I love it to death. But if I have to go and race somewhere else in Australia, I love the Bend. And then I'll just wait for the garbage truck to pick up. And then we race all over. Like, I go up to Darwin to go and do an event up there called Nitro Up North. So we race overnight time, but during the day, the V8, they call it the Triple Crown. So the V8 supercars are on, and then the super bikes are on, and then we run the night. And that's cool, like, to be racing in that environment. It's just mega, like, heaps cool. I've won that event and finished runner-up in that. We've gone to Queensland. I've raced up in Mackay. I've raced at another little track called Benarabi for big all-bike meetings and stuff like that. So, and then, I meet all these other people and they get to see what I do, and, it's quite cool.
I'm super stoked about tomorrow, because we actually get to go to the track tomorrow, eh? We're going to do some videoing and we're going to watch you in action down at the Speedway, eh?
Yeah, so tomorrow is a reasonably large round. It's a national round for door slammer, but there's also some nitro cars there as well. So if you've never seen nitro before, Craig, well, you're in for a bit of a treat.
Nice.
Top bikes running, and then it's a normal state round for us.
We nearly didn't make it. We had a hiccup a few days ago because you were meant to be doing a race, a week ago, was it? Or
yeah, so we were supposed to race on the 27th, just like last Friday, and we went to pull the bike out of the van, and it wasn't rolling as like it normally should, and I discovered that it had sheared the front axle on one side. Had a bit of a mechanical, which is quite rare for us. And I'm rather glad that it happened in the van and not halfway down the track, because I reckon I'd just be waking up in ICU now.
we'll be doing the interview in hospital.
And drinking out of a straw, probably. But yeah, so we've fixed that. And then that's just, I launched pretty hard for a bike with no wheelie bars and a pretty sort of standard setup, no extended swing arm and that. So in that launch, I do quite often pretty much all the time, like a big power wheelie. Sometimes you get that wrong and the front end will come up a bit higher than what you want. So, you know, you might roll off quite hard so the front comes down quite a lot. One of the things that we do to prevent so much wheeling is we strap the front suspension down. So you might only have 50 mil of travel left in your suspension. So if you get it all wrong, you can come down quite hard. And I think probably 7 years of doing that has maybe fatigued the front axle a bit. It's quite thin wall, and I probably use the bike for a lot of stuff that it wasn't really designed to do. So we've replaced that with a standard one to get us through this meeting, and then I've got a friend of mine that does a lot of the machining and fabrication work on my bike. They'll build me up a new front axle that is thicker wall thickness. And
Yeah, so on that, like anyone that's racing probably needs a support team. You're lucky enough that you've got a race logo and you've got your name out there and you've got a few little sponsors and that. So who's sponsoring you? Who kind of helps you and supports you as Chris when you're out there racing?
So yeah, I have a race team called Nervous Racing, Racing with MS. So I have a sponsor called Bruce Avery Transport. They're a big transport company. So I get some financial assistance from them, which usually pays for all my entry fees and maybe some other little bits and pieces that we go along the way. I have jacked supplements. So when we go racing to state, one of the other teams, they're sponsored by them as well, so they might help out with truck hire or fuel or something like that to get to us where we need to go. And then I also sponsored by my workplace, ERGT, and they pay for all my flights. So that's that out of the way. I'm sponsored by Bunbury Ducati or Wayne Patterson Motorcycles. They look after the bike, so they service it once a year. If I have any mechanical issues, they sort them out. I get discounted price. They basically are my friends as well, so I get extremely well looked after by Pato and Todd and Kane and Tammy and everyone else that works there. It's a really cool little family business. And then they also have a offshoot called Bunbury Dyno, which Todd pretty much runs. So yeah, I get looked after with discounts for dyno time and tuning and stuff like that as well. So I've got a few little sponsors.
Nice.
Yeah.
And your beautiful partner, how does she fit into all of this with the racing? And is she a fan of it or supporting you? Or
she's a big fan of drag racing. Maybe not so much when I'm racing.
Yeah.
But she's my crew chief, so she basically looks after the bike. She'll have a large part of setting the bike up. I'm just basically the nutcase that gets on it and ride it. She'll help me get onto the bike. She'll help me get off the bike. She'll pick up my timesheets. She'll do all the stuff that's other than get on the bike and ride it. She also helps some of the other racers out as well if I'm don't need her or something like that. She hates it. As far as she hates it when I race. She probably has a few nerves and stuff like that. She watch the front end coming up, watch me get out of control. So yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine. I could imagine in that. Yeah. Look, I've got tons of other questions, man, but I'm just so looking forward to going down to the track tomorrow. I reckon we could probably get a lot of the questions done there, and I think once we're there with the bike as well, Like
I have my bike is very unique. That's a one-off. It turns a lot of heads. So yeah, it would be cool to show all that and show what I do for fun.
Cool, fantastic.
Yeah.
Morning, mate. How are we?
Good, mate.
Good.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Finally here.
Yes.
We've been talking about it for quite a few months, haven't
I
we?
know.
Really, probably
Yeah,
6
yeah.
months. Been yarning about it. Like,
Yeah. And then finally everything's aligned. So
we're here.
We're here.
We're into it.
Yeah.
Into it. Cool. How you feeling?
yeah, not too bad.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
too bad.
All good.
Didn't sleep heaps well last night, but that's sort of normal.
Normal for you, yeah.
Yeah,
That
but
more the MS or the nerves for the race.
A little bit of MS, not really nerves.
Yeah.
Just like some twitching in my legs and stuff,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
sort of makes it a bit hard to go to sleep. You end up focusing on that and trying
Yeah.
to keep your legs still.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone's ever had anything like restless legs, it's
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Bit of a busy morning at the moment, I suppose. You've got to start setting up, eh?
Yeah, so it's about 9 o'clock now and we're on just before 11.
Yep.
So we'll get the bike out, do all the prep work for it,
Yep.
throw some new fuel in it.
Yep.
And
So I'm presuming you can't get the bike off.
no, I can get the bike out.
Yeah, you can? Yeah, yeah,
we've
yeah.
made everything so that me and Eb can do the whole lot, so
Yep.
we're self-sufficient.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, we might let you get back to it and get into it and we'll get the bike off, eh?
Yeah, cool,
Sounds
no
good,
worries.
mate. Cheers.
Awesome, thanks.
Push hard now, Eb. Go, go, go.
Alright, cool. And that's how we do it.
Yeah, just like that, eh?
Yeah.
Easy done.
Easy done.
That'll be good, then I can so I was going to say to you halfway down, like 10 points if you do drop it on camera, but I didn't want to say that just in case, eh?
The thought was crossing my mind that if I ever did drop it coming out of the van, that it now would be the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's look, it's a reasonably heavy bike, and I sort of use the bike and me to balance each other, and just steady as she goes.
So what is the weight of it? Do you know?
Dry weight, I think, is about 200.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
From factory.
Yeah.
Or that's what the factory spec says. She'd
But
probably be around about that.
Yeah, but you've got quite a few mods on it as well, yeah? So
Yeah, so maybe a little bit more, but then also too, we've taken a few bits and pieces off not
Yeah,
to
right.
lighten it. It's just
Yeah.
stuff we don't need.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
yeah. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, she's a heavy girl, and
Yeah.
it's like it's because of the clip-ons on it. Because normally the standard bars are up here, so you sit quite like riding like a copper,
Yeah. Okay.
and then we've put clip-ons on it, so you almost lay on the bike, and because of them, you don't get as much turning circle.
Yeah. Right.
So it's on the bump stops, or these will come quite close to the tank. And then another thing we've done is this seat's had it's been scalloped out, so a lot of the foam's out on it. You'll notice when I sit on the bike, I sort of sit in the bike.
Again, is that custom for you with your MS, or just that you want to get a lower profile because you're racing?
A bit of both, so lower profile. And if you sit in the bike instead of on the bike, you're more one with the bike, if I put it like that.
Yep.
And then so I sit lower as well, so it's easier for my legs to move around.
Yep.
So yeah, that's it. We've just warmed the bike up, so we get it to around 60 degrees Celsius, and then just another little check that we do, we just make sure that we're in sport mode, make sure that all the electronics are turned off, so run no ABS, no DTC is Ducati traction control, So we make sure they're all turned off, and then we'll just make sure that the shifter's in the right spot.
So once you do those changes and you turn the bike on and off, will they stay there?
They stay there.
Because some bikes, they do reset.
Yeah.
But this model, it'll stay there.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll just engage the shifter, and I'll just pull the clutch lever in, and like just before I throw the clutch right out, it'll turn the shifter on. So that's all good. We don't need to adjust that. Little pressure switch down here that activates that.
Yep.
So we just, sometimes that just needs a slight adjustment. That's all.
Right.
And that's it. We're pretty much ready to rock.
Just run me through this suspension that you guys were playing around with before. So you're tying down the suspension.
Yeah, so we strap the front suspension down with this strap through here that runs through the top of the triple clamp and back down to the brake calipers.
So what's the concept of that?
So when you have the suspension up as like a normal road bike, that will actually make you wheelie more on takeoff. So we strap the front suspension down because then like the front part of the bike is under centre.
Yep.
And it has to have more energy go into it to lift the front wheel. And it still lifts the front wheel, but this aids not doing big wheelies. And then it's more up to the rider, so it's my throttle control. So if I leave with too many RPMs on the launch, I'll do big wheelies. If I get it just nice, it'll be just a little power wheelie out.
Cool. So we're about an hour out from the race. What's your normal plan? You're going to get ready shortly?
Yeah, get ready soon. Go for a nervous wee, all that sort of stuff. Have a little bit of a drink of water or some lemonade, and then start putting my gear on. And normally takes about 45 minutes, half an hour we can do it in. But yeah, with me and my MS, if I have to rush, then I normally stuff up and fall over or something stupid like that. So the aim for us is just to nice and slowly get ready. And we're normally one of the last bikes to go around because then I don't have to sit in the sun for so long.
So all the bikes will kind of go out together, will they? And then they're just racing in twos?
People will go around at various different times. So I think we're on today at about 10 to 11. So about 20 to 11, people will start to go around. You should really be in the staging lanes about 10 minutes before. We're normally 10 to 5 minutes before. That's normally pretty good. When we go into eliminations and we've got to line up into our pairings, depending on where we are in the run sheet, so to speak. Like if we're first pairing, I like to get around there a little bit earlier because normally we'll run in the left lane. So just easier for me to be in there early, so there's not as many other bikes that I have to navigate my way around and stuff like that. It's just the aim of the game for us is we make it as easy as possible for myself. So yeah.
Cooper Ashleford.
Cooper who?
Ashleford.
What's going on here today, mate? What are you racing? What's going on?
Kawasaki Ninja 300
Yeah, cool.
in junior bike.
Junior bikes.
Yeah.
Yep. How long have you been doing that for?
About since the start of the season, about 4 or 5 meetings now.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So it's a new category here in
Yeah.
WA. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. How are you going with it?
Really good. I won last meeting. 000 action time in the final, and the bike's been running really good times.
Yeah. Yep.
So it usually runs about like 880, 890, something like that.
How old are you?
14.
14.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell me a bit about your bike. What do you got here?
So we got a steering dampener.
Yep.
So if our handlebars end up wobbling like that, it'll cancel that out so
Okay.
they don't end up shaking. Portable charger so I can plug my bike in after every race.
Yep.
This is number, couple of sponsors and all that. And then if you come over this side, that's where we put our dial in.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
what we're gonna run.
Yep.
And yeah, a couple upgrades to it and that, new exhaust, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Sweet. What size motor is this one?
300cc.
300.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. How many more runs you got today?
We got 3 more rounds and then the final.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So what did Chris just say to keep your mind off this? What did he say?
Featuring naked.
Picture him naked. Let's just both image that now. How's that going for you? All right?
Oh, not great.
Not great, man. Yeah. What was your name, mate?
Riley Kilvington.
Riley. How are you going today, mate?
Oh, I've done alright so far. I've done a PB, and then in the second one I did a 889, which
Yeah.
is, it's alright. It's pretty good for me.
Yeah, PB. You got to be happy with that, though, eh?
Yeah. That was an 885, so
Yeah.
pretty good.
How long have you been racing for?
4 meetings.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Did you race before that, other bikes, or?
I did motocross
Yeah.
before this and enduro
Yep.
on a YZ85, so it was a lot smaller than this, but
Yep.
yeah, that was fun too.
Yep. How do you find this compared to that kind of riding?
Oh, it's probably more fun because you just get to go faster and stuff, and it's probably a lot more concentration than enduro and motocross.
Yep. Yep. What bike you got here? What are you riding?
A Yamaha R3.
R3. Yep.
Yeah.
And what kind of stuff are you guys allowed to do to your bikes at this kind of category?
Not much because they're only allowed to go 130k an hour.
Yep.
So
Okay.
all I've done is upgrade this and put a steering dampener on.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
it.
Cool. With the steering dampener compulsory, it looks like you've all got those, or
Yeah.
that just
Yeah, they're
it is?
compulsory.
Yep. Yep. Sweet. So you guys racing a full track, or how far's your
No, we
distance?
only go 1/8 mile, which is half full track.
half to track? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Cool. And how long's that taking you? What's your times?
Oh, well, it depends what bike you're on. Mine's about in between 8.8 and 8.9.
Yep.
But yeah, if you're on like a slower bike, then it just depends what CC you're on.
Yeah.
to what you're on.
Yep. And you're changing gear as well, aren't you? These aren't automatic. It's all
No,
manual
we
and
have the shifter down here.
Yep.
And you got to obviously use the clutch
Yep.
when you shift.
Wicked. Cool. All right. Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Okay. Name, date of birth, phone number, and address. Nah, just joking, man. What's your name, man?
My name's Kobe Ashleford.
Yeah. Cool. How old are you?
I'm 12.
You're what?
12.
12. Holy crap, you're 12 and you're racing motorbikes like this. That's wicked. How have you been going with it?
I'm going pretty good. Last meeting I did alright, but I did some couple PBs, and then this meeting I've done a really good reaction time.
Yeah.
And
What does the reaction time mean?
like how fast you take off from the tree, like the
From the
lights.
line? Yeah,
Yeah.
wicked. Yeah, okay, cool.
And then I've top qualified as well this meeting and last meeting.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Excellent, good work. And you're only 12.
Yep.
Far out. You got any racing background prior to this, or?
Yeah, I used to race junior dragster,
Okay.
and then I won my first meeting, the first meeting this season, and then I moved to junior bike.
Cool. So what's the difference with your bike? What size have you got?
This is a 155cc
Yep.
Yamaha R15,
Okay.
and because all these are 300s and mine I do 10, 50s and 40s.
Okay. Right. Yep. So you got the smaller bike because of your age limit?
Yeah.
Yep. So when are you allowed to go up to the 300s? What kind of
when I'm
age?
13.
When you're 13?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's that, this year or next year?
That's next year.
Next year. Okay, cool. pretty crazy to me, Chris, that you're doing this as a sport. So, you know, you in the condition that you're in, why aren't you just playing chess or doing something a little bit more, you know, cruisy for someone?
Because it was actually a bit of a trade-off. Because I couldn't ride on the road anymore, we decided to go racing. And then also too, it gives me 9 or 10 seconds that I don't have to think about MS. So once I get to the start line, it's all easy sailing after that.
How we going, Chris?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, the afternoon.
It's an early afternoon.
It's an early afternoon, really.
Yeah,
Why is that?
Because I fucked up.
You fucked up.
Yes. The throttle, I'm pretty sure, works best when you do that to it. And I'm pretty sure I come out of the hole and went like that. And then when I seen Brian come flying past me, I went to go like that again, and then the bike did a bit of a wheelie and then head shook when it come down.
Yeah,
And it was just, race over.
Race over. And the problem we had two mates racing each other. The two only Ducatis here as well.
Only two
Ducatis in the world.
That drag race.
And so that's it. She's all over, done and
Yeah,
dusted.
that's it. All over, done and dusted. Go and maybe shit talk to some of the junior bike riders, give them a hand, see how they're going. Hang shit on Brian.
Yep.
He's an arsehole because he bet me.
Yep.
And sit here and watch people stare at my bike. And hopefully they weren't here an hour ago when I rode it, because they actually think it goes really fast.
It's faster in the pits than on the track.
But yeah, was probably...
It's been a challenging day all around, trying to feel of the bike again.
Probably a little bit of lack of sleep time. I've missed the last two race meetings, one with really bad face pain and then another with a mechanical failure. Two qualifiers. First qualifier wasn't much good, the bike didn't change gear. Second qualifier was a slow 60 foot for me. Just probably lack of practice and maybe a bit rusty.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. How did you find it with having that work done onto the front end of the bike? Did you have any kind of nerves with that, or hesitant, or?
Yeah, I think the first time I popped the clutch, might have been a bit like, I knew the bike was all right, but you still have some gremlins in your head, I think. And then when it started head shaking, I was like, what's going on?
Head shaking?
Yeah, so the bars were rattling after I come down out of the wheelie. So
yeah.
The last time I had that happen to me, I'd come off.
Yeah. Well, at least you stayed on for me today, mate. Thank you for that.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I only do the dismounting special occasions.
So it's about 5 o'clock, 5:15. I got told it's the cup of tea break. That's what you told me. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, we have a half hour or an hour tea break, and all drag racers drink tea. So they bring tea around. We all sit in the pits and
drink tea
and have a bit of a pit party and watch the spectators come past. And
it's been pretty cool though. The bikes are kind of parked up and people have been wandering past, just kind of chatting to you and everyone. It's pretty good, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. My bike turns a lot of heads and definitely gets a lot of comments and people talking about and asking questions, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I get to sort of say to them, follow me on Facebook, and some of them might do that and then see what I'm all about and my really nice looking bike.
Yeah. So what's your plans kind of for the rest of the evening then? You just pack the bike away later on and go and watch some races with some mates and support some of the other riders?
Yeah, I might pack the bike away later on, and then I'll go and probably hang out a little bit with the junior bike guys. I wouldn't mind having a look at my mate running his Nitro Harley and stuff.
Yep.
But we'll see as well. Like the wind today, the strong bit of breeze is sort of just giving my face a little bit of a grief. So we'll just manage that and work out where we're going to chill.
How do these days affect you? Like tomorrow, how are you going to pull up? It's a big day, eh? Like it's a long day. It's been quite hot and warm as well. It must take it out of you a bit, or?
Yeah. So tomorrow will probably be a fairly chilled day, depending on how late we stay here.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon to get home at 2 o'clock in the morning after drag racing. Hopefully we don't do that tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, tomorrow will be probably fairly chilled. I find it very hard to sleep in. I get like quite sore and like uncomfortable in bed. So I tend to be up at like normal sort of 6 at the latest, maybe 7 at the latest. And then, yeah, chill, maybe do a bit of gym. There's a house that we want to go and have a look at, to just go and have a look at. We're thinking of moving.
Yep. So just try and have a nice quiet day, kind of recover a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a normal work kind of week, you'd be getting ready for work for Monday then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and it is. Yeah, we go back to work on Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, get ready for work. But yeah, rehydrate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably still will do a little bit of stuff, but yeah, I'll just be a bit kinder to myself and not push as hard tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah,
cool.
And then Monday I've got a reasonably large day as far as like do the normal work day. I don't know what I'm training or anything like that. And then Monday night I do go to physio for an hour.
Straight back into it.
Back into it.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
yeah.
Paul, how you going this afternoon, mate?
Not too bad. I've had better days. Out a bit early on this particular race meet.
You must know Chris then, eh? Because he's out as well.
I know Chris very well, and he's been unlucky enough to draw Brian again. It's sort of a bit of a bad habit those guys are getting into.
I know.
And you know, Brian being the ruthless fellow he is, he takes no prisoners, you know.
We've been spending the last couple of days with Chris, getting to know him a little bit more with his racing and his MS and stuff like that. So what does he mean to you guys in your community down here, having someone like him part of the team?
Look, you know, the first thing that stood out with Chris is he has such a bloody good looking bike, you know.
Yeah.
It's very different, and it certainly is no slouch. It's a quick bike.
Yeah.
At first I never actually knew Chris had MS, you know. So I just figured he might have had some sort of injury and things like that. But I found out later that he had MS, and you know, I've known other people who've got MS, but none that would be having a go at this. Okay, and there's obviously challenges there for Chris, but he seems to overcome those time and again. He's the sort of guy, if he gets knocked down, he don't stay there. He gets straight back up again, and he's certainly shown that. He went to Darwin, and then he won a meet there, which I think was great, and he's travelled around the place too, to the Bend in South Australia, and you know, he's pretty regular down here.
Yeah, just looking at him today, he seems to know everyone. He's hanging out with the kids and that. The kids seem to love him and that with the new racing that they're doing down here, which looks pretty neat. So
So yeah, it's great to see him racing, and I certainly I know when I come up against Chris that he's there to win. So you know, you can't sort of be off your game when you race him.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you think that you're going to pick this one up as an easy win, well, good luck to you, because you're going to get cleaned up. And his bike has plenty to get up and go at the end. So. Yeah, he's a great racer, and
he did say that when he goes through the tunnel, it's just game on, isn't it?
It is. Your whole, I guess one of those things with drag racing is once you start the bike, everything else seems to clear out of your mind. And you come down to that singly focused activity of going and racing that bike. You get into the routine. You do it so many times, but it's like, honestly, a bomb could go off around you and you wouldn't know.
Yeah, you just focus so much.
You just focus so much, you know?
Yeah.
provided the bomb isn't your motor, because you will notice that. You know?
That's it.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you very much for your time, and yeah, hopefully we catch you down here next time.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
See ya.
Thanks for that.
Well, we are at a drag race.
We are at a drag race. Yesterday we started off with a plane flying over our head, eh? And now we got them going.
And then some Muppet gardener blowing his friggin' weed blower thing.
Weed blower thing. Well, we're kind of done for the day, eh? Like, other than watching a few more races, I think we're done with the videoing and that.
Yeah.
First of all, probably from me, thanks very much for letting me do the video and coming down here. I've had a ball, mate.
That's cool.
It's been really cool to come down and actually see your race, you know, in your kind of area and atmosphere and in your kind of, you know, with your family down here, you know. Like, it's really interesting watching you, how many people come up and chat to you, and, you know, you obviously know the crew around here, and yeah, it's really neat to see.
Most people know me. Whether that's a good thing or not, I'm still decided. You probably think I'm the mayor of the Motorplex.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
But no, it's cool. Like, a lot of people are interested in what we do, and thank you for your interest. This has been a pretty cool thing to do. Yeah, and like, I hope people get a bit of benefit out of it, or just like what we do, and maybe come down and watch some of the racing as well.
We'll put a few links up, obviously, of your page and stuff like that, but if people want to find you a bit more, where do they go to kind of track you down again?
So Nervous Racing, Racing with MS on Facebook and Instagram, and also I've got a private page, Chris Morgan. I think I've got an MS Warrior on that, so yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, cool. We'll put all the stuff up on the page so people going to find you if they need you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, mate. Let's go and watch some more races.